Welcome back to another episode of Synergy's Accidentally Fit podcast. I'm Joe. I'm joined again with Carly, which has fortunately been on with us this season, sharing her thoughts. We've talked a lot about goal setting. Now we're going to talk about productivity because they go hand in hand. If you're able to organize your days and become a more productive person, you're able to accomplish those goals we talked about. So, welcome, Carly. I appreciate you jumping on with us.
Thanks, Joe. Happy Monday.
Oh, you can't say that on a podcast. What if someone's listening to it on a different day? We're gonna keep going though. This is a one take podcast. All right, here we go. So on personal productivity, we're gonna share at least 8 tips with you today, and we're gonna go through them, kind of ping pong back and forth a little bit. I have a list going. I asked Carly to jump on, and she's got a couple to share with you as well to fill in the gaps. But I'm going to let Carly go first because she said she had a good one from a previous job and a lesson that she's been carrying with her for a long time. And those are usually the ones you want to share. Go ahead, Carly.
Cool. Yep. So the first one I'll start off with is an acronym called Ohio. So it stands for Only Handle It Once, and that comes from a professor at Harvard Business School. And what he says is, for example, in your email, when it comes to productivity, if you open an email, you only want to touch it once. So either respond or make a note about something you need to take action on later. But that will allow you to save time and not have to come back to it and think about it again. So that carries over into the piece of advice I learned from a previous boss. He was super great, and his name was Michael. And what he would say is, if there's nothing you can do about it, don't touch it. So, for example, sometimes I caught myself on like a weekend checking my email, which was not a great habit. But if there was nothing I could do about it at the time to meet our clients' needs, he was like, don't even touch it until Monday when they were back at work and that sort of thing. So that was a good lesson for me.
I think it goes hand in hand with something that I find is probably the key piece over all of these tips we'll give you today is learn to be decisive. We carry a lot of stuff around in our brain that doesn't need to be there. You get the email, you decide and write a response. Sometimes we make a response or a question out to be a lot bigger than it is. Just it's not like a right or wrong decision. There's often two right decisions. Just make one and go with it. Do I say this or that? Choose, press send. Focus on the bigger tasks of your day to feel more productive than carry around so much weight of the smaller items. And like Carly said, even through the weekend, and that'll screw up the time that is meant for you to refresh and work on your own projects and feel better and come back. So as an employer, I like the employees not to do much on the weekends because I want them to be fresher during the week. It's like training. If you work out all the time, you're burnt out. You have to have that time to refresh. And same thing with personal productivity. If you're working so hard on a project, it's good to shift gears and focus on something for your personal life. Walking dogs, photography, reading books. Shift the gears to create some separation in your mind so then you can be a more productive person and you'll have more energy to all of those tasks. Because likely, if you just kept going through them, you get about as far as if you took time off because you're not refreshed. You're always working out your brain, working out a little bit weaker each time. So you gotta recover. Is that fair to say, Carly?
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's like not about working harder in terms of like putting in more hours, rather being decisive about the limited time you have and being more efficient during it.
I'm gonna give you an acronym too, and I've shared this one with the member group. I really like the Ohio one. On certain tasks, you have to decide to suds it, where you simply show up, do something.
Mm.
Sometimes we have something on our to-do list where it's all right, well, I don't want to go do my exercise. I don't want to go to this meeting. Like sometimes you just need to show up and do what you can. And the key part of that is getting that first step of momentum is the hard part. I think it was In the Atomic Habits, if you decide to do something for, say, all right, 3 minutes, I'm going to do this walk for 3 minutes. I'm going to go to the workout and do 3 minutes worth of push-ups. You'll find that momentum will carry over, and you'll get your 30 minutes, you'll get your 45 minutes in. It's just simply you got to show up and do something on some task and accept that as a mindset. And then when you start it, you'll be able to keep progressing often. And if you don't want to, after 3 minutes, good, you gave it the college try. Go ahead and recover that day, like we were just talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I think the author of Atomic Habits, he talks about like the psychological piece that happens in your brain. Like when you first just put out your gym bag every day, eventually that person is going to show up at the gym because they've set the right habit first. And then that allows them to show up and do something when they arrive.
Perfect. I'm going to hog and give another tip while you think of your next one, Carly, even if though I can tell you're ready. And this is another important one. When we write to-do lists, it's usually a mixture of different types of items, things that we need to think about, things we need to act on, some boxes we need to check. I highly recommend separating your to-do list into projects and to-dos. So you get a lot of to-dos. I have mine. If you're watching on YouTube, I have my to-do list in front of me. On my left-hand column are my to-dos. It looks like the longer column, and I can feel good about it. That should take me about 10 minutes to get through those. Call this person, text that person, send this email, all done and checked off. And then on the other side, there's only a few items. There's 4 items, and those are the projects that I need to think about, including pre-writing and shooting this podcast was on my project list. So I need to spend some time to write down and think of the tips I want to share with you today. But the reason why I recommend separating them is so that you're not spending an equal amount of time on to-dos and the big picture projects. If there's a day where I'm really busy, I will go hour by hour and schedule it out. That's kind of the to-do type day. If there's a day where I'm not busy, I'll write down the main 3 to 5 tasks I need to think about and accomplish, and I'll do them whenever during the day. Sometimes thinking about it might take 5 minutes and I get a flash. Sometimes it'll take 6 hours to think about something more thoroughly. But separating your to-dos with actually kind of your to think abouts will make your life more productive. Your turn, Carly.
Cool. I like that. Yeah, typically I go with the 3 projects per day to focus on. And that's helped me a lot. But yeah, separating them out for sure. So one thing I'll add to that is just focusing on planning ahead as well. So when we plan ahead, we minimize room for error. So making a to-do list, making a project list the night before allows you to come in with a fresh mind that morning and get right to work. And then to be able to execute right away. So the one piece on the project list that I've been working on is working on the projects first when my brain's fresh in the morning and I have the most energy. Because in the past I would get bogged down by my to-dos and my email. So I've made it a point to focus on the important projects and then work on the to-do lists later in the day.
There's a good one off of what you were just saying, is that my next tip is for managing energy and expectations. So your to-dos, once you accomplish it, sometimes we have expectations of things that are outside of our control. I sent the email. I expect this other person to reply to me in an hour, or I expect them to say this things, and we carry that weight. We think about it, and really, you need to take full autonomy over your actions. But then once it's done, you just need to let it be. Like, don't waste the energy on worrying about someone else's response once you've done what you need to do. And a piece of that is managing your own personal energy. Sometimes you need to step away. Sometimes you need to go outside. Sometimes you need to get 5 minutes of sunlight. Those are all tactics that help. One that Andrew Huberman was sharing from Stanford neuroscientist and professor was that you take 30 deep breaths to kind of reset your energy. It helps cool your body, and they have done studies on this. This just isn't some hippy dippy stuff, because I wouldn't be down with that. But a lot of that stuff actually works, and they did different body scans of your body's temperature during certain emotions, and to reset when you're feeling anxiety, pressure, anger, things like that, taking the 30 deep breaths were showed on the scans to cool it down. Now, you could carry that anger or anxiety is a big one that we carry throughout the day for hours, or you can reset it and get to the next item on your list. And once you start making that a habit, you'll become much more productive.
Cool. Yeah, I have an Apple Watch, and my watch, I'm actually not sure if it looks at my heart rate or if it's just does it randomly, but it actually reminds me to breathe. So I just click like start, and then I'll do like the 30 seconds of breathing.
Perfect. That's what it would probably say to me if I was a fancy Apple person. Every time I like walk up a flight of stairs, um, probably say sit down, don't breathe, take some deep breaths. But energy management is huge. Another one that people can look up that you're listening to is called nature bathing. It's actually a Japanese um, concept, and there's studies around it. And I believe it's 15 minutes to increase your brain function. If you walk out in nature for 15 minutes, take a quote unquote nature bath, and I've talked about this before on these, that it makes a big difference. Your eyes see different colors. Um, there's an optical sensation of when you are walking, focusing on something in the distance, that things are passing you on the side, trees, colors, and things like that. That helps reset your mind and your brain function. It's not just, all right, I just need to cool down and like get headspace. It actually has a difference in your body when you take 15 minutes and walk outside.
Yeah, I believe it's important to do that without headphones as well, to be able to hear the sounds and enjoy the experience more fully. I tend to bring music or podcasts with me, but I have heard recently that it's important to put yourself into that situation, like with silence around you.
And this is going to go a little bit deeper than productivity, but this is kind of long-term productivity. Recent peer-reviewed independent research shows that if you spend time, screen time, and you're looking at things up close, including reading time in a book, that it actually changes the shape of your eyeballs if you don't get outside and focus on things in further distance. So they suggest for every 45 minutes of screen time, you spend 5 minutes outside looking at something further than a screen. The studies have shown it does change the shape of your eyeball, the long-term eyesight. If you get frustrated when you can't see things, that's a personal productivity thing. It's a little bit deeper than that, but it will change your physical body if you're able to get outside and focus on different levels of things. And sometimes we think taking a quote-unquote break is just to de-stress. Um, but there's a lot more to it that our bodies are attuned to that our minds might not be.
Oh, that's right. I saw that you and Mel had done that this past weekend, right?
Yeah, my thing is to go out on the back deck when the sun is coming up to set the circadian rhythm, so you feel the sunlight. And your body knows when the sun's coming up. They actually suggest you also go outside for 5 to 10 minutes when the sun is going down, so your eyes can see it in the sky and your body knows, and you can cool down and sleep better. But we look off kind of in the distance on a far mountain range and try to count trees. We talk about the different birds we hear and a lot of the hippie stuff that I had mentioned earlier. But I feel a heck of a lot better now that there's the peer-reviewed research that it works, even though, intuitively a lot of people did know it was work. So Mel and I go out on the porch intentionally in the morning and try to look off and think and listen and take that in. And we come in a lot more refreshed, especially when the kids are just thundering up from bed and getting ready for the day. Taking that time has been really important for our productivity.
Cool. Yeah, I feel like it's probably especially important in the winter because we're getting outside less. So being more intentional about the short spurts of time we spend outside is important.
Perfect. Do you have another one? Do you want me to go, Carly?
I do have one more, but you can go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. So Carly will be the big finish. I have two more for you. So I'll throw one real quick. And this is kind of an obvious one. We're on the Synergies Accidentally Fit podcast. If you're taking one or two of these tactics and implementing them over time, you'll find yourself just becoming more fit. And we're throwing a lot at you. And I should pause for a second, take a breath, and say, it's not for you to do all of them. Choose one thing and start implementing them. But one of the biggest things you can do for your life, for your health, for your cholesterol, for your heart pressure, for your brain function, for your eyesight, for your bone density, for your metabolism, for your hormone levels, is do your exercise. That is the fundamental biggest thing you can do for your own productivity to have a healthier body so you're performing at a better level is to do your exercise. There is endless peer-reviewed research on it now. The one I like to bring up is Brain Rules from Joseph Medina, um, another neuroscientist who gives us 6 rules to increase brain function. People want to stave off Alzheimer's and things like that. His number one rule is to do your exercise. And people think, well, it's just a tool for weight loss. We need to shed that perception that all those things I listed and much more come from you taking care of your body. Now, it might be working with our staff here at Synergy. It might be doing a daily 45-minute walk. It might be, whatever it is based on your goals and where you're at in life. But yeah, you have to put in time on your daily schedule, write it out, and execute on your exercise to have as close to the magic pill of health that we know about currently. Your turn, Carly.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing to that. There's a statistic that I love about CEOs or people who are high up in their companies. And the statistic is something like, I think it was 90% of these people who are very successful in the business world, the one thing they all have in common is that they exercise before work. And they all talk about going in with clarity and additional energy and that sort of thing. So it's proven in many different realms. But
and what you have to do with, and what this has to do with the productivity, this is a point I want to make, is you are optimizing your ability to be productive. If you have, let's say, a go-kart and you're driving it down the road, mashing the gas pedal, you might be going 10 miles an hour. If you take the time and do these things, now all of a sudden, yeah, you might be stopping and going to take these breaks, to do the walks, do the exercise, but you've upgraded yourself to a sports car. And when you press the gas, you blow the doors off someone who's just got it floored with a lawnmower engine and a go-kart, because you're taking time to make yourself more optimally productive. And you feel a heck of a lot better and you avoid burnout too that way. Take it away with your last one, Carly.
okay, perfect. So the last one I just wanted to touch on is kind of encompasses everything we just talked about regarding productivity. So just the reminder to be in control of your time. So when you don't feel in control, take a step back and look at your day and look at your to-do list versus your projects. And when you need a break, take a break. The world is super busy and there's so much happening around us. Influences from people online, in person, but owning your time and being in control of it and confident in what you're doing, I think can impact your productivity in a positive way.
And I've seen in my own household with myself where that can get a little tricky when you have kids and things start to spiral when the kids get fired up and then the parents also get fired up and now everyone's getting fired up and nothing's getting done. It has taken a lot of purposeful practice to remain in control of the time and just take a breath and say, okay, let's bring it back to the moment. What's important in this moment, which is let's de-escalate, let's find the lesson in this, and let's proceed with our day. Unless that happens, you can waste hours just chasing your tail. But if you can just take a breath, de-escalate even your own personal, if you don't have kids, your own personal mind, what we call head trash, just too much stuff bouncing around between your ears. Take a breath, realize what's the most important thing I do now, and then refocus on executing that one task and remove the things that are outside your control in the moment. Here's my last suggestion, and the how I want to land this airplane, bring it home, is that regardless of your personal productivity strategy, regardless of what daily planner you prefer, what style you prefer, I like to alternate between to-dos. Super busy days, I'll do my hourly, hour by hour to-dos, and my thinking days, I'll just do my big 3 to 5 tasks, and I alternate between those two. But you need to intentionally decide what is going to be your personal productivity strategy. And if it doesn't work, tweak it. Don't give it up, and don't just go back to letting the day wash you around wherever. And I've had those days, and at the end, I'm like, what the hell did I do? Like, how was I so busy and nothing got done? Because I didn't decide on what I was going to do at the beginning of the day, that at the end I felt unaccomplished. And when you decide and you're writing these things down, you do get what's called a dopamine release. You feel good about yourself for accomplishing the task you set forward early in the day. You feel good about crossing your things off your to-do list, and that drives it drives a good feeling for the process. And that's kind of what every day is. It's going to be a process. If you want to feel good about executing the process, write it down, execute on it, cross it off. Your body gives you a hormone release. It encourages you to do it again because that's a good feeling, and then you do it again the next day. So managing that and understanding our physical bodies. I don't know why I'm stuttering. Our physical bodies do play a role. It's just not in our brain. They both will support each other. Your thoughts and your actions with your body will work together. Final thoughts, Carly.
I like it. I always feel like I learn a lot in these conversations with you. So I hope our listeners also can take away a few small things to help them be more productive.
If you've enjoyed the podcast, make sure to give us a comment. You can listen to it on your favorite iTunes, your Spotify, whatever platform you like, but drop us a comment. You can drop us an email at carly@synergyfitnessteam.com. To let us know if you're enjoying it. We do shoot these in seasons right at the beginning of the year, and the more feedback we get, the more likely we will continue dropping some tips for you, answering your questions, and things like that. So thank you for listening to Synergy's Accidentally Fit podcast. If you'd like to be guided through your sessions, visit synergyfitnessteam.com. We can hook you up with a free trial. You come in, meet our staff. We can help you on all the things we're talking about today.